In this video, I will show you how you can create a blueprint class that has some sprites, it has some collision, some spring arm, and a camera. So we can put it inside our level with a player start, and when we run, we see our player sprite. Let's see how we can do that. First thing first, we need to create a blueprint for our player. So let's just go to content drawer, go to content folder, right click and create a new folder and call it blueprints. All of our blueprints will be inside this folder. Now in here I want to create another folder and I want to call it player. So we put the player blueprint in there. So right click in here, create a blueprint class. We can just use a pawn class because we want to get some inputs and move our spaceship. So click on pawn and I want to call it BP underscore player or whatever you want to call it. Now for telling this level that to use this blueprint, we should create another blueprint of type of game mode, so we set it inside our level. So in the blueprint folder, right click, create a blueprint class, this time of type of game mode, and we can call it GMBP for game mode blueprint space shooter. That's it. And if you double click on this one, we can change the default pawn class from default pawn to the BP player, the player that we create together. Now you can hit compile, save, and you can close it. That's all we need to do inside the game mode. Now in here, inside our level, we can go to word setting and change the game mode override to GMBP space shooter, or you can go to edit, go to project setting, go to maps and modes, and change the game mode, default game mode from game mode base to GMBP space shooter. Both of these ways work, but doing it in broad project setting is better. So now we can save everything. If we play, nothing will happen because we didn't do anything with the player, but you can see it did spawn the BP player and it did call it BP player 0, right? Beautiful. So now we are spawning our player. Let's add some stuff to our player. Double click on the BP player and you can see one problem that I can see in here. When we open something, open it in a new window, but we want it to be open beside the level. So for doing that, go to edit, go to editor preferences, and in here search for open and change the asset editor open location from default to main window. This way is much easier to work with it, right? So now if you close this and open it one more time, it will open up here. When you see something open like this and you can't see the event graph, you can open it in full blueprint editor. Just like this. Now with this, we want to add some component to our player. So go to viewport. Right now there is nothing there because we want to create a 2D game. That's why from perspective, I want to change it to left so we can see it as a 2D game, right? So now in here, first thing that I want to add is a capsule collision, and you can just call it capsule and drag and drop it, put it as default scene root. Now next thing that we want to add a image or texture of our spaceship. And how we can do that? Let's just first find it, go to assets, go to textures and go to player. You can see we have some spaceship in here. I want to use the player 0, but how we can use it? We can't use just a texture in here. We need to use a sprite. And for creating a sprite, you can right click on this texture, go to sprite action and create a sprite. We need a sprite for all of them, so we can select all of them with holding control like this. Select all of these textures, right click on one of them, go to a sprite action and create a sprite for them as well. We want to use this one for now, so it's called player 01 sprite. Let's see how we can use it. Click on the capsule in here, click on add and search for a sprite, right? Paper sprite. Put it there. I want to call this one sheep. That's it. And I want to choose the player 01 sprite. and you can see it over here. Beautiful, right? Right now the grids is not helping us to see everything, so go here and tell it to not show the grids. That's more like it, right? First thing that I want to do with this, I want to change the size of it to be half of this size because it's too big. So click on this lock icon so you can change all of these together and put 0.5 there, right? That's more like it. I wanted to look up, the sprite look up, so that's why I want to rotate it 180 degree around the y-axis, just like this. Or you can just click on this icon over here and rotate it as you want, like this. But putting it over here is much easier, so put 180 there and that's okay. Hit compile and save. Again, go back to the select icon, select object icon, so you can see everything. Now, next thing, I want to change the capsule size. So click on it in the capsule half height. I wanted to make it small, and capsule radius, I want to make it small as well. For example, capsule radius, maybe this much is more than enough. After that, the capsule half height, I want it to be like this. We can change the ship sprite position with clicking on this icon and change the positioning of it. So it's not letting us because it's snapping. We can disable that by just clicking in here to disabling it. No, we can move it as we want. That's beautiful. You can change the size of this capsule. Of course, if this capsule is bigger, the game will be harder, and if this capsule is smaller, the game will be easier. So now let's just hit compile, save, and now if you go to our level and run, you can't see nothing, but if you eject, you can see the ship there. I don't want to look at our game like that, so that's why we need a camera. For a camera, click on the capsule, click on add. First, I need to add a spring arm like this. You don't need to change its name. After that, click on the spring arm and click on add and add a camera, right? That's it. Now you can see in here, if I zoom out, you can see the camera over here. We can go to perspective to see the camera better. You can see it. Now I want to click on spring arm and rotate it minus 90 degree around this z-axis. We can just click in here and rotate it like this, 90 degree minus 90 degree. Now with that done, if you go to our level, you can see our ship beautifully. Next thing that I want to do, I want to go to camera and change the projection mode from perspective to orthographic. The orthographic camera won't see any depth, and for a 2D game, in this case, we don't want to see any depth. It's not 2.5D game, right? So that's why I want to change the projection mode to orthographic. The ortho width, I want it to be 720 for now, and I don't want this auto calculate ortho plane, and that's it. Hit compile. Now if you go to our level, you can see it is zooming out a little bit. If you want to zoom in a little bit more, you can change this value. For example, if I put it on 480, let's see what will happen. Compile. Now if I run, you can see it's closer. I want it to be 720 because I want to see further away so we can fight the enemies, right? Now we have a player that we can work with it. We can play with it, right? Beautiful. Now next thing that I want to do, I want this BP player to spawn on 000 location. But right now if you run and click on the BP player and go to detail panel, you can see it is in a random position, like, right? We don't want that to happen. We want it to be a spawn on 000 location. And how we can do that? We can go here and create a player start. So go and add a player start. We want to put it on 0, 0, and 0 location, right? Now it's like we don't know where it is. If you hit F on your keyboard, it will go there. We want to look at our player start from where that the X is pointing at the right and Z is pointing up. That's more like it. Now with that done, if you run our game and click on the BP player 0, you can see it is spawned at 000 location. This is very helpful because this is a 2D game. We need to make sure we are sticking with two planes, either X and Y or X and Z or Y or Z or whatever. Just two of directions because it is a 2D game. That's why we put it on 000 location. And I want to use X and Z for our 2D game. You can see X and Z. The Y will be the depth, but we don't want to use it because it is a 2D game.